So, as we communicated earlier, I really welcome you to share any message that you have about the connection between the wisdom carried by our collective ancestral lineages and the healing process, whether it's for individuals or the earth.
My understanding of the work that I've been doing for the last 25 years has really brought me to this moment where the wisdom of the earth is calling us to listen deeply. And the work is about healing the broken links between ourselves and the earth. And the broken links are our original links to nature, to the earth, nature and the earth and the waters and the mountains, and then our lineages. Our lineages, for me, are those that have come before, but also the understanding that we're not likely one lineage. It's rare to just be of one lineage. And that if we are to truly do healing work in this time, we have to understand the ancestral wounding of our lineages and reconcile with the wounding and the, if you like, wrongdoings of the original broken links to the earth. And the earth is the elements, but it's also the animals, and then people. It's actually in that order, is my understanding. And it's becoming more and more apparent and more essential that this healing work is done. It's our lineages, our ancestors are in our blood, in our bones, in our breath. It's who we are made up of. And unless we track back to the parts that require reconciliation, we are not truly in our authenticity and truth to heal the earth. And I just want to be very clear around ancestral lineages. It's not only bad things, they also come with incredible strength and resilience and love. And so we are all of that as well. And if we are able to draw on all of that and do the reconciliation work, then my sense is that we will truly begin to understand what it means to reconcile with the earth. You see, the earth doesn't need healing. We need the healing. The earth is fine. It's us who continue to abuse, misuse, consume, and take. If we continue to do that, the earth doesn't get an opportunity to rehabilitate, to replenish, to nourish and nurture. But the earth is a true reflection of ourselves. We are earth, and earth is us. And all the earth really wants us to do is to bloom and to blossom and to thrive. You know, because earth is about community. It is about self-worth. It is about community. It's about identity and belonging. Yeah, it's about abundance or scarcity. It's about all of those things. And so, yeah. So lineages in my work, in the work that I do with people and my own work, are very important in terms of the self-reflection work and the self-healing that is needed. And also this understanding that we are not all there is, you know, when we consider what happens in the world and who we are. And, you know, part of the issue is that we have always thought that we are all there is, and there isn't any other worlds, and there aren't any other worlds, which has also created another issue in terms of the broken links to our origins. Yeah, I think that's really what I want to say about lineages and the importance of our ancestral healing. You know, the old ones are in the waters, they're buried in the earth there. So we can, or I can, call on my ancestors to support me at this time. And I call on all of the elements to support me at this time.
I'm wondering, would you like to share at all about the way in which you work with the ancestors, with the shells, or just anything that you think might be interesting for people to know more specifically?
Okay, well, I'm an initiated stick diviner now, actually, and I started out in the Dagara tradition about 25 years ago. One of the oldest indigenous technologies in the world. And for me, on my path of seeking something that I could truly hold on to as a support, a spiritual support, nothing was working. And I did try a few things and nothing really worked until I came to this notion of ancestors, because I knew I had a mother and a father and a grandfather and a grandmother who were no longer here. And just by that notion alone, I was able to grasp onto this notion of ancestors, that when we die, we become ancestors. So, and I will be an ancestor one day myself. So it was easier for me to get a handle on. And that's really how my journey started. And then through the incredible work of the Dagara people and their indigenous technology, I simply stayed with them, with this knowledge, with this wisdom. And I became a diviner, and that is it's a portal to look into what it is that is happening for the person in the moment based on their cosmology, their earth, water, fire, nature, and in relation to their cosmology. And then later on, I initiated as a stick diviner. And so what I do now is I work with a stick, and that stick and objects, or live objects that represent the elements and our ancestors, grandmothers in there, grandfathers are in there, old ones are in there. And then again, I'm doing exactly the same work of working with the person in the moment with an issue, but the stick is doing the work. And then I will read what it is that, or I'll divine on what it is that I'm being shown. And I feel that, it's always taking us back to healing the ancestral legacies first, and looking back and taking back and understanding that that we are, again, it's that we are our ancestral legacies, as we are who we are today, but they are also very much a part of who we are, as well as their stories, their history, their cultures, their traditions, their rituals, and the way they live their lives. So, and their traumas, and their joys, and their happiness, and families. So often we have traits or actions or behaviors that sometimes we are not really sure what is happening, or how our illnesses are related to something that maybe happened in the past that has actually nothing to do with us in this moment. But if it's passed down, for example, if somebody has a gift that was never manifested through an ancestor, that gift will get passed down to the next person, to the next person, to your children, to your children's children, the female lineage or the male lineage. And that is what we can see in the divinations. And so we assist people to, all of this work, ultimately, everything is about healing. Initiation is about healing. Divination is about healing. All of this work, first and foremost, is about healing. So we work with the person to heal those ancestral legacies that could have been passed down to them.
One thought I had, since you're kind of already talking about your work, you might talk about the journeys that you take people on out into nature.
The journeys, well, it's interesting that you call that, but the journeys weren't initially about the animals. The journeys were initially about reconnecting people to the land.
Yeah.
And to the indigenous people of this land in particular, which is said that this is where we're all connected, in this land. This is our original homeland. But I can say that in the later parts of the journeys, when the journeys continued into the latter part of the journeys, the years, the last few journeys were most definitely about reconnecting to the animal world. I can say that. And consciously or unconsciously, I think, I would say that it was more of an unconscious gravitation towards animal connection and reconnecting with animals. And I feel that, as you can see by the huge popularity of my octopus teacher, Craig Foster is a friend of mine, and I've been swimming with him, and he was one of the teachers on our journeys. But I think I'd like to get away from the sensationalism of what's happening around animals right now.
Okay.
Part of the basic piece of this, Rosie, is that the basic and the most important piece of this is that originally indigenous people walked the land with animals. They swam with sharks and whales, and they walked with lions, and there was no disconnect. And yes, they hunted, and they hunted for food, and they used every part of the animal, the skin, the bones, in everything. So nothing was ever wasted, and they only took enough for what they needed. What happened was, again, through the West, through consumption, through the broken links, animals became a commodity. and they were misused and abused. And if anything, I never took people on game rides for the purpose of simply looking at animals. There was always, I believe that in bringing people to the animals, which a lot of people couldn't do because of where they lived, bringing people to the animals and seeing them in their natural habitat, that it would actually reconnect them to their own wildness. That was the purpose of it originally. And then through that, I did work with an animal communicator called Anna Breitenbach. But through that, the understanding that we can have a relationship with animals without having to touch them, without having to pet them, without any of the things that then became another commodity where they would bring volunteers in to do all kinds of things with the animals. So, and breed them and hunt them. And so in a way, it was another way of repairing the broken links to the animals, is by bringing people to the animals into their natural habitats as close as we could possibly get. And the healing began. I mean, you know, it's a hard thing to speak about because you have to be there to see what happens between a human and an animal when they connect, and how that healing happens. But on another level, animals are medicine, and we've also we've become a world where it's always the lion or the tiger, and we miss looking at the ant and the beetle and the worm, and understanding that every animal and every insect and every wild being has medicine for us. If one spent every day in your garden looking at a bird, after a while you will be able to understand the relationship that we have to those animals, and that actually there is medicine every time an animal crosses our path. And when I say animal, I also mean insects. So the medicine of the animals became very important to me, and very important to me in my work, as a way to again heal the broken links, so that people started to find the symbology and the meaning in their lives, that nothing really, and I don't want to use the pat phrase because it's used too often, you know, everything's for a reason and all of those pat phrases. But when an animal or a bird or an insect crosses your path, there is a message that is being delivered. So that was really that's the core of my teachings around animal communication, around just being with an animal, and also the understanding of this reconnection to healing those links. That's another way to heal the links to how animals and humans have become very disconnected.
That is deeply resonant with what the whole dreamarc is about. And I don't know, but a third of the animals are insects. They're the worms, they're the tick, they're the mosquito. So what you're talking about, both as animal as medicine and as messengers and as opportunities to heal these broken links that we all have, not just with an animal, but with all of nature, with all of the cosmos, feels extremely relevant. So everything you're saying, I think, is going to resonate very, very deeply with the people who participate in this course, journey, whatever we want to call it. You could, I don't know if you want to say anything about dreams.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit in my head right now, but in as much as that's where I was going to go next. But no, I think, really, it doesn't matter if they appear to you alive or they appear to you in your dream. The dream time is, as we know, a very important part of symbology and meaning in our lives. And paying attention to the dream time is a key part of the work that that I do with people who I'm working with, is that they are constantly sending me their dreams, and I'm looking for signs and symbols as to how to work with them in the next. So animals appearing in your dream is as significant as animals appearing in front of you. Yeah, no, if the lion appears in your dream and you don't have, I have more chance of seeing a lion in the bush than someone in San Francisco seeing a lion. But so if the lion comes to you in your dream, it's the same thing. You need to pay attention to that lion. That lion has come with a significant message. So that's why the dream time is obviously, as you know, so important.
Wonderful. That was wonderful. So the only thing left is just any message, like during these times that we're living in, if there's anything that the ancestors or the spirit world wants to communicate through you right now, what would that be? What would you like us to know?
Mm-hmm. I feel that the work that is very, very significant has come via the earth speaking and us, and being called to listen. That feels like the biggest message at this time. And and I don't want to go back into the pandemic, but the pandemic was an opportunity for us to slow down. But I also felt that the pandemic was the earth speaking very loudly. It could have been anything. It could have been a tsunami or a volcano or a flood or an earthquake, but it wasn't. It was the pandemic. And in the middle of all of that, something very, very powerful, magical, and significant happened. And then it was exacerbated by the murder of George Floyd, who called Mama and said, "I can't breathe." And when I heard that, I heard the call to all mothers, to the great mothers, because it was a deep reflection of our earth at that time, that we can't breathe. And that has sat with me, and it's resonated with me. And it's like he's here, he talks to me, not in a wacky way, but that those words have stayed with me. And then, of course, the resurgence when he came back in the trial. And I feel that those words were a call to all of us to listen to the earth, to listen to the land. You started out your conversation by saying it's very powerful here. The land is very powerful here. Yeah, it is. But the land is actually very powerful everywhere, depending on how much we have abused it. The more that we have misused the land, the less the vibration is. So we have to return to listening to the vibration of the land and what it is that it is asking for and what it is that it is saying. When we listen to the land, we are listening to the stories of all of our ancestors, all of those who have gone before. Because the land has become, it is our place of belonging. It's our home. It's our place of self-worth. It's our place of worthiness. And the only currency worth having at this moment in time is self-worth. And it threads through everything and everyone. Self-worth. Through lineages, through legacies, through heritage, through culture, through traditions. So for me, listening to the earth, listening to the land, to what the animals are saying, will bring us back to some kind of center, will reunite us all to some kind of center if we listen and then take action. That's it, Rosie. That's really the work that I am doing at the moment, is teaching people, guiding people how to return home. Because we've forgotten. We're in the great forgetting. You know, we all have major Alzheimer's. We're in the great forgetting, and we have lost our memory. And we need to return to remembering so that we can dream again.